Hello, my fellow breakaway thinkers. Welcome to another video. It's another wonderful day. We are thankful to God, Source, the Most High, the Force, whatever word you want to use, for another wonderful day. If you're new here, welcome. This is a place where we talk about breaking away from thought patterns, ideas, and concepts that do not serve us. The name of this channel is called Breakaway Thinker. And if you are already here on this channel, you watch this often, welcome back to another one. So this video today, I am talking specifically to the men. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're not a man, you can't watch this, by the way. Anybody can watch this because I believe it could be beneficial to anyone. But this one is tailored more for the men because I'm talking about vulnerability. What does it mean to be vulnerable? And as men, why would it be to our advantage to embrace vulnerability? Before you click off the video, because I know some men tend to be triggered by the word vulnerability. We think it's weak, and there's all these ideas that we have about being vulnerable. And I want to reframe that because that's what this channel is about. Is reframing ideas so that we can see those ideas in a new light and step away from those ideas that are not serving us and helping us. And as men, I strongly believe that this belief in vulnerability being weak does not serve us at all. And that is something that I want to address in this video. So I'm going to start by defining what vulnerability to me is. I think vulnerability is being able to open a certain aspect of yourself or being able to allow people to see the full range of who you are as a human being. Vulnerability to me is not hiding certain parts of yourself. And human beings, we tend to hide certain parts of us as tribal beings. We didn't want to completely expose every part of ourselves. Exposing everything about you or every aspect of yourself wouldn't be a safe thing to do. It could be dangerous. It could lead to harm. So it's something that we've carried down through genetics and through evolutionary biology, and it's playing itself out in the society right now. So the way that I see vulnerability is being able to allow people to fully see the complete aspect of who you are as a human being, right? Letting people see you as who you are fully. And being vulnerable is one of the ways to do that. If you don't like the word vulnerable, you can use open. There are lots of words that you can use. If the word vulnerable triggers you, or if the word vulnerable does not resonate with you, just pick a different word. Pick a different word that resonates, pick a different word that makes more sense to you, and use it to replace the word vulnerable. Now, I'm going to go over why I think that it's to our advantage as men to be vulnerable. One, I think that being vulnerable or being open helps people to see a certain dimension of who you are, right? It opens you up, right? It allows people to see who you are fully, to see your full humanity. Because if you're vulnerable, that shows people that you're not afraid of who you are, that you're not afraid of expressing yourself fully to the world. And also, it is an advantage to yourself, showing yourself that you're not afraid of showing who you are fully to yourself. Being vulnerable, to me, feeds your spirit, it feeds your soul, right? Because you're tapping into that part of you that, for whatever reason, whether it's conditioning, limiting beliefs, societal pressures, right? You're tapping into that part of you that you are afraid to tap into or that you hardly tap into. There's something refreshing about seeing a man being vulnerable. The thing is, how can you be vulnerable in a way that is masculine, in a way that does not compromise who you are, that resonates with you as a man? So the question is, how do we do that? Right? How do we be vulnerable from a place of strength, from a place of authenticity, right? Without pretending, but it's genuine because it's coming from your spirit. It's coming from the real you, right? Not everybody is going to resonate with you being vulnerable. And that's okay because you're not really doing it for other people. You're really doing it for yourself. You're feeding your spirit, essentially, by being vulnerable, by being able to just let go, not wanting to be in a place of controlling and holding on to things at all times, just willing to let go. So another word could be let go, if you want to use that instead of vulnerable, or surrender is another word for that as well. There's so many words that you can use to replace vulnerable. So whatever resonates with you and whatever you're comfortable with. But the ideas and the concepts are all the same. Being honest with ourselves, first of all. Self-honesty is very critical in your ability to be vulnerable. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, then you won't be able to fully open up to yourself to experience what it's like to be vulnerable. So it's like a tap. If you open a tap and there's some sort of a blockage in the pipe, the water's not going to flow. So you need to be able to let go of whatever the blockage is. And some of those blockages could be belief systems, limiting beliefs, tidal pressures, conditioning, things that we've experienced as children, past experiences, even in adulthood. These are all things that I think it's important to examine if you're going to get to the place of being able to be vulnerable. And also, what relationships are you going to be vulnerable in? There's certain relationships that, based on the dynamic that you have with that person, being vulnerable is probably not the best idea. If you have certain friendships that are surface level where you just go out to hang out or drink or whatever, maybe that might not be the place to be vulnerable. So you kind of have to examine what places and what relationships you want to do that. Because there are certain things you just can't do with certain people. You know, would it be amazing that you can be vulnerable at all times with all people? That would be the most amazing reality in our world as a whole, where we can open up to each other without feeling like, what is this person going to think? Where we're not restricting ourselves through our thoughts, without what ifs and am I going to get judged? Is this going to be right? But also, you have to pay attention to the relationships that you have and the places where you can be vulnerable. For men, at least for me personally, the one area that I think men are willing to be the most vulnerable is in their very intimate relationships, which is mostly with their spouse or partner, somebody that they're really close to, on an intimate level, right? But even that type of vulnerability is different from, let's say, being vulnerable with somebody at work. You can be vulnerable with them. It shows people that you can relate. It shows people that you can understand them. Even if you may necessarily be in the situation they're in, just by the mere fact that you're willing to be vulnerable opens them up. It shows them that, hey, this is a regular person just like me that has struggles just like me. So it opens you up. It makes you relatable. It makes you likable. Again, not everybody's going to respond well to that. But to me, it's not your responsibility to make sure that everybody likes what you're doing. Because first of all, you're doing this for you. That is the number one thing. Keep in mind, you're doing this for you. There's a certain sense of peace that comes from being able to just be vulnerable and just let go and just be. And if people don't resonate with that, that's completely okay. It's not your responsibility to make sure that it appeals to everyone. Now, going back to the whole thing about vulnerability with certain people, right? And certain ways that you can be vulnerable depending on the relationships that you're in. For some people, you can be vulnerable with them in a way that you can be honest, you can get straight to the point, be unapologetic, do it from a place of strength and from a place of humility. And there's some people that it seems like you got to dance around things a little bit. Now, this is not to please everybody, by the way. It's just you being emotionally intelligent, being able to assess people's emotions and how people respond to things. Men are afraid of being vulnerable. And I get it. We live in a society that does not reward vulnerability, the larger society anyway. Sees it as a form of weakness, sees it as something that can be used to take advantage of people. But not everybody sees it like that. I strongly believe that the freedom and the peace that comes from not having to perform, not having to have a specific identity because you're trying to please other people and you're worried about what they think, but just being you fully, I think it's fantastic. It's a great thing. Being vulnerable doesn't mean that you have to cry necessarily or anything like that. If you're in a situation where your emotions is leading you to cry, then do it. Do it. If that is what your spirit is leading you to, in that moment when you're vulnerable is tears, hey, go ahead and let it out. It's one of the most beautiful things that you could do for yourself. And it's not weak. I know we're in a world where it says it's weak for men to cry and all these things. It's not weak. It's you being a human being. You are given tears for a reason. Okay? If we weren't meant to cry as men, we wouldn't have tears in the first place. I don't think God will give it to us if we weren't meant to do it. So it's okay, men. It's okay to cry. Now, you don't want to be going around crying all the time. That might be a problem. But I'm saying if within your spirit, if something is coming up within you and you need to let it out through tears, and if tears is what you need to let that out, let it out. Men, this is very important to not just in our minds, but in our health. I think one of the reasons why men have so many health issues and tend to die earlier than women is because we're bottling in so many things. I appreciate the idea of stoicism, but it's like with everything in life, there's a limit to that. You don't want to be so stoic that you are just keeping everything in, bottling in your emotion, your traumas, you're bottling in all these things that just don't serve us, because society says you should appear or you should show up in a certain way. This is such an important thing to men, and I want the men to really hear this. It's okay, most importantly, to show that to yourself. Show yourself that you can be that way. That'll give you the freedom to continue to expand. It'll show up in your relationships with people, your business. It'll start to show up in all areas of your life. The things that you know are right, but you're unwilling to say because it may come across as weak. If you're in that business meeting, there's something that needs to be said. And that thing may not necessarily be the mechanical stuff. It's not about the numbers and the metrics, but it's just a certain feeling that you have, right? Being vulnerable will allow you to express that. And if people don't like it, that is okay. It is not your responsibility to make sure everybody likes it. But to me, there's something freeing about being able to let it out, to let that emotion and that feeling out in that particular moment where you are being led to do that. So I'm not telling people to go around faking being vulnerable. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying if you really feel a certain desire within you, when there's something inside of you that needs to come out, a thought, a feeling, just pay attention to that and take action on that. Because each time that you deny yourself that, each time that you deny yourself the opportunity to be open, opportunity to express your feeling, to be honest, to be authentic, you are dimming your light. You're not allowing your light to fully shine, right? There may be some consequences because some people won't like it and will have a certain view of you and all that, but at the end of the day, are you here to please all others in life? You're here to make sure that your cup is full first so that you can go and be of service to others. You can give the best of yourself to others. But if you deny yourself the chance of being vulnerable, you're not filling your cup. Your cup is going to be empty in some way, whether you recognize it or not, because there are things inside of you that you're bottling in. This is something that I'm very passionate about. I don't know if y'all could tell, but I'm getting a little heated because this is something that is a real issue, especially for men. And this is something that I think all men should look at addressing if they really want to step into being the best version of themselves. If you really want to step into being the grandest version of yourselves, vulnerability is going to be essential to that. Vulnerability with your family members, with your spouse, with your children even, right? It's okay to tell your child that you don't know an answer to something, because that is being vulnerable. I know there's this whole, daddy knows it all thing. Nah, that's not gonna cut it. They know you don't know it all anyway. Even though, yes, they're children and they assume that we are the adults, right, are there to provide for them and to take care of them. They understand that. But they also know that we don't have all the answers to everything. So being able to just be honest and say, I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to find out. I know it doesn't seem significant, but even being able to do that is vulnerability. And it's okay. That is what I'm trying to tell y'all, man. It is okay. Tell your daughter. She asks a question. If you don't know, tell her, I don't know. Don't try to come up with some answers and things that don't make no sense because you're just trying to come up with something so you can come across as this dad that got all the answers. If you don't know, you don't know. It's totally fine. And that shows them that you are human. It shows them, they can relate to you more because obviously they're kids. They themselves, they don't know lots of things either, and that is a way for you to actually even connect with your kids more, right? I'm not saying that don't, be looking to find answers and find solutions, right? You can say you don't know, but make it a point to find out and come up with the answer for them. Just be willing to admit that you don't understand something. That makes them feel like you're on a journey with them, like even learning with them. They come up with a certain thing from school, let's say, and you have no idea what it is. Tell them, honey, this is new to me. I have no idea what this is. How about we learn it together? You create that connection with them from being vulnerable. Now, that's a way to be vulnerable with a child. So think about how you can be vulnerable in a way like that with an adult, in a way like that with a friend, with your spouse. Look at all the relationships that you have and see ways that you can be vulnerable or open. I know I keep using the word vulnerable. It's just the word that I use, and I mean, whatever. I don't care. I have no problem with that word. I'm at peace with it. Those of you that are not, again, find a different word for that. So that's the message today, men. It's time for us to step up. It's time for us to let people see who we are fully, every single part of us, without hiding certain aspects of us. Our egos will tell us that it's not safe to do that. It's not safe to completely let go and to completely surrender ourselves fully and let ourselves fully be open. That's just the ego just doing what it does. It doesn't want you to get hurt, and that's understandable. The ego doesn't understand that you have a desire to be your greatest version. Your ego can only take you so far. So sometimes you got to shut it down and say, ego, okay, I got this from here. You can sit back. I got it from now on, and let your highest version of yourself, that best version of yourself, take over. And if you're able to tune into that highest version of yourself, you have no problem being vulnerable at all with people. Okay, so I hope this is beneficial to everyone, but especially to the men. I hope you've gotten something out of it. I hope there's some action steps or there's some tips that you've got out of this that can help you be more open or be more vulnerable. So that's the message for today. Thank you all for watching. Remember that on a healthy body rests a healthy mind, and I want everybody to make their health a priority. That is very important. I know some people say health is wealth. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I see where they're coming from. Health is the greatest thing we have. You can have all the money in the world and not have great health. So let's make our health a priority at all times. So if you want to know other ways that I could be of service, just besides this video, take a look in the description, see how I could be of service to you. So thank you, my fellow breakaway thinkers, everyone, for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.